I'm Laura Lee Binstock, and this is a Trauma Survivor Thrivers podcast. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for a Trauma Survivor Thrivers podcast, now on Mental Health News Radio Network. This podcast is also available wherever you get your podcasts, but I do suggest checking out Mental Health News Radio Network to find all your podcasts related to mental health. Today's guest is Christina Wood, CEO and founder of Wood's Hypnotherapy and Coaching. Christina is a licensed rapid transformational therapist, clinical hypnotherapist, empowerment coach, and Reiki master. She combines her background in corporate leadership along with her life experiences in dealing with trauma and abandonment to empower other women to trust their intuition and set themselves free of self-doubt. Christina, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you. I'm really, really excited to be here.
Well, you are a rapid transformational therapist. I don't think I've heard that term. Could you tell me what that is and how you got into this work?
Sure, it's a mouthful. You can even call it RTT for short. That's what I do. But this is actually my second career. I had a 30-year corporate career, as you mentioned in your introduction. And rapid transformational therapy is a method of hypnotherapy. And I found it throughout my healing journey. And I'll share a little bit about that. But as I was on my healing journey, most of it I actually buried until I was about 50 years old. So most of my trauma, childhood trauma, most of the most robust healing, I would say, when I really dove in, was as I was approaching 50, and a lot of my life started unraveling, and I went through a big divorce and decided to leave my career. I became an empty nester, and it was me and the dog, and it was, oh wow, there's some things that these feelings are really, really, these are different, what's coming up. And I started remembering things. And at that point on my healing journey, I came across hypnotherapy, and it really, really made a big difference in how I felt, and I was able to get to the root. So rapid transformational therapy, the type and method is, it goes beyond just affirmations and saying words, because those are very powerful as well. But with RTT, we get to the very root, the very cause of why do we have a belief in the first place. So yes, we can say, yes, I had that trauma, or I had that moment, or yes, my parents got divorced, or I was in a traumatic car accident, so now I know I'm afraid of driving. So we have these moments, but what we don't always understand is, what is the meaning we attached to those moments. And we know now, right, and the work that you do, and the great work of sharing, there's so many different modalities of, big trauma, little trauma. We can be picked up from soccer practice late a few times, and the meaning we attach is, mom and dad like my brother and sister more than me.
Mm.
So what is the meaning we attach? So we find out the root cause, and we have a way with our subconscious mind of interrupting that belief and creating a new belief, the truth. And through hypnotherapy and really repeating over and over the new belief, we literally can make a new belief familiar. Our mind is so incredible. Its primary purpose is to keep us safe and alive, and it really doesn't care if the belief is right or wrong, or good or bad, or even true or false. And our subconscious doesn't know how old we are. So I look at it as, RTT allows us to go in, find the root cause, and upgrade our subconscious, just like we upgrade our phone or my iPad. It's so Zoom, it's so annoying sometimes, right? But we need to upgrade our beliefs, because so often it's stuck like a record playing over a moment where I believed something in that moment was my truth or someone's truth. But now that's not the case anymore. And so RTT allows us to rewire and recode in the truth, and that you are safe now, or you have different resources and coping skills, or that was really never about you. That was actually about something else. And through RTT hypnotherapy, we do that very quick. Rapid is part of the acronym there because it's very effective. And sometimes between 1 and 3 sessions, certainly sometimes more, depending on the depth of what someone's working on. But it's this dialogue that we're having with the subconscious, which is so powerful.
Yes, I did work in internal family systems therapy, and I didn't realize this,
Mhm.
but someone said that's they would consider that a form of hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
And it's just so effective in trying to find the root versus, when you go to a typical psychiatrist and they prescribe you the medication to kind of put a band-aid on what's really happening. And it's really just going deep in and finding the root cause of it is where the real work is. And
Sure.
so that's amazing. And so I love that idea of rapid transformational therapy because people want help now, and they, you know, when I was in treatment, I had to go to residential treatment for 31 days, and they were doing all these different modalities where they're like,
Mhm.
you're only here for 2 weeks to a month, and so we want to make sure that we leave you with the tools that
Right.
to help you manage your day to day and not just medicate you, but to give you to find what it is that you need to heal and start from there. And I feel like rapid transformational therapy is effective.
It is. And even today, I woke up with some triggers and some anxiety because I had a lot going on in my life. And I recognized, some of those triggers and some of those old beliefs. And the more you do the work, you recognize them. It doesn't always mean you don't feel them. So you recognize them. And I was able to say, okay, let me use some of the tools that I have. And honestly, one didn't work. I had to pull out like 2 or 3 tools before I was able to calm because in my nervous system, my body, this was I really had to do some deep breathing. I had to really talk with my inner child and my inner parent and bring back some of these tools. But because somatically in my body through my journey and as I was turning 50, one of the things that really helped me as I started getting quite a few illnesses. I started having vertigo, a lot of
Mm,
autoimmune issues, and hypnotherapy was what really made a big difference for me and started to really turn the corner for me. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? This isn't a pill, and nothing wrong with that because I've
right.
had to take those things.
Me too.
But in addition, and they help me tremendously. But in addition, this idea of a vortex moving through my body and pushing out these beliefs is literally helping my vertigo. What is going on here? And this belief that I am cleansing myself with energy and light is making me feel better. This is pretty interesting. And so now I can actually do this visualization where I'm pushing out these beliefs that okay, let's do a little cleanse here like a car wash. And these hypnotherapy techniques, I'm going in my subconscious, which is a million times more powerful than our
Mhm.
conscious mind, despite what our bossy pants thinks. Our subconscious is so powerful. So
That's right. That's right. I 100% believe that. Um, the topic that I wanted to explore today um, is self-sabotage, which is, when people do or don't do things that kind of block their success, prevent them from, accomplishing their goals. And I know that it can happen consciously and unconsciously. Believe me, I know that from firsthand.
yeah.
But self-sabotaging behaviors can affect our personal and professional success as well as our mental health. And just saying that and reading that definition, um, you would think, why on earth would I even resort to this type of behavior? But I feel like anything else in mental health and trauma, it's kind of complicated. Could you explain?
Yeah, it is complicated, but yet at the root, so I'll get back at the root, is, at the root of self-sabotage is if we sabotage that thing, okay, that thing that we perhaps want. So perhaps we want to save more money, perhaps we want to lose weight, perhaps we want love in our life, perhaps we want more ease, and to sleep. Sleep is a big one that
Yeah.
we even sabotage. We stay up too late and watch Netflix, and we can sabotage in so many different ways. There's everything from addiction to eating cookies at 10 o'clock at night. But at the end of the day, if we can blame it on that thing, then we don't need to show up. And it's very much rooted in the I'm not enoughness, which is quite frankly an epidemic, that when you look at so many things. I know in my treatment I found quite a lot of moments where I felt not enough, and not to say everybody has that, but there are quite a few moments with my clients where we're probably going to talk about, there are moments in their life where we're going to work on I'm not enough. I'm not enough this, I'm not enough that. So self-sabotage is really rooted in I'm not enough, whether I'm not enough, I'm not good enough at this, or I'm not good enough at that. And if I sabotage it, then I don't have to face it. And one of the greatest fears in all of us is rejection, because we have this innate desire and need to feel connected.
Mm-hmm.
And our primal primitive brain will do everything and anything to avoid rejection. And so when we feel and look at sabotage, what we're really doing is we're saying I'm going to do this thing instead of the possibility that I might be rejected. So rather than do that thing, rather than lose weight and actually perhaps attract the love of my life and then have my heart break, or perhaps do that thing at work that might put me in position to be promoted, and then what if that doesn't work out, or what if then I'm away from my kids too much and then I'm a really bad mom, or there's so many layers that it gets to. But when we really start digging, that's typically where it goes. Is, see, our mind can't be in two lanes. So always at the root of self-sabotage is our mind will have two conflicting beliefs. It's like, I want that thing, and then there's another voice in there that says, yeah, but if I get that thing, there's this other voice that says, yeah, but there's this other part. And our mind doesn't understand two conflicting beliefs. They cancel one another out. And so the I'm not enough this, I'm not enough, or I'm different, or I'm not lovable, or one of those core beliefs really just sabotages the thing that we want. So many times I will have clients say, you know, I want to retire in 5 years. But the more I work, I'm just away from my kids, and then I'm a terrible mom. Or we're in two lanes here.
Right.
So what we need to do is we need to talk to the part and make a promise to the part that feels like, all right, if you strive for that thing, what do they feel like they're going to lose out on? So for example, a promise, I know that a promise that I have to make to my part is, I'll often say, all right, if I'm going to relax, because my survival was based on having to really do too much at a young age. The oldest of four, single mom, really just had too much responsibility. So I really turned into the good girl overachiever. If I'm an overachiever, everything's going to be fine, and no one will know what's going on at home. And I did that for most of my life, and it worked until it didn't work. And so that part, that overachiever part of me, will come out now. And what it did was fried my nervous system, my adrenal glands, so many other parts of my life, took away so many special moments with my family and my children. And when I want to have balance in my life, this other overachiever part will come in and sabotage it and say, oh, no, if you're not hustling and working, your whole career might collapse. And then what? You're not going to have enough money to feed your family. So even making a promise like, well, if having balance in my life means that my business will fall apart and I won't have any clients, then I'm not going to do it. Don't worry. If it's not safe, I won't do it. So you almost were negotiating with these parts. But if it means that I actually get to relax and enjoy my loved ones and enjoy these special moments and refuel and re-energize myself, then yeah, I'm going to do it. And you'll be surprised that that part of us just needs to hear and know and make a promise. So another example might be if, if taking time out for yourself means that you're going to be a bad mom, well, then you're right. Don't do it. You'd rather be there for your kid, be there for your kids and not go get your nails done. All right. But if it means that you actually get to do something for yourself and feel good about how you feel in your body, and maybe spend some time with a partner or just with some girlfriends, and that allows you then to have the patience for your 2-year-old, well, then yeah, I'm going to do it. And that part of you can go, oh, okay, wait a second here. So sabotage is rooted in so many things, but oftentimes it's these two voices inside. And so I've gone in a few different directions, and there's so many different tools I can share, but it's so often rooted in what are we saying to ourselves that keeps that sabotage going, and the belief behind it. Because like you said in the beginning, there's so many layers to it.
Right. I mean, I have to say it was really my go-to maladaptive coping skill, coping
Mm-hmm.
mechanism. Um, but how do we recognize it? Because I feel like if I didn't build in that awareness from my own treatment, from when I was struggling, and I that was like something that I actually had to learn in residential treatment. But how do we recognize it? Just people going about their day, recognizing it, and being able to break that cycle.
Yeah, I think, I think just even acknowledging that you need to recognize it, right? So just what are the patterns? Let's be honest. We don't need to tell anyone at first. We don't need to do anything, but having those moments, like, why is that going on, these repetitive moments? I'll give an example where we get curious. I invite people to get curious about the patterns in their life that they don't feel good about, or they don't feel comfortable, or don't feel like they're in their flow, or aren't making them happy, or don't feel comfortable, or feel forced. And certainly they want to stop. Or when we start beating ourselves up about something, gosh, I'm just so lazy, or I can't finish that. I used to beat myself up about being a procrastinator. And until I realized I was very afraid of being visible. And so that was my tool. Let me procrastinate and not do it. Then I don't have to
Hmm.
be visible. So,
Yeah.
I just don't have to show up. I'm just going to wait till the last minute, and then, okay, yeah, no, I have to do it. And once I got past that, but I think being curious about it, and once you're curious, let's go back and also noticing the feelings, because so often with sabotage, a pattern is that we're just simply disconnecting from our feelings. We're dissociating from our feelings. And with your conscious and our subconscious mind, our with trauma in particular, a big coping mechanism, like you said, is to sabotage something instead of actually feeling what's around, what really either happened, or a genuine feeling that is meant to be felt, and allowing ourselves and holding ourselves and getting the support that we need, and realizing, yes, it might be uncomfortable to feel that feeling, but once we move through that feeling and get the support on the other side of it, is coping skills and tools and resources where you're not resorting to sabotage to get through it. Instead, you're actually feeling the feeling. So, and I just listened to an episode where someone talked about feeling the feeling. I think it was the last episode before me, and I thought, yes, that's exactly. I mean, we've all heard "name it to tame it," which
Mm.
just makes it sound so simple, but literally just allowing yourself to feel it. Because when feelings are uncomfortable, I'm the first person to say I don't want to feel that feeling, but honoring that feeling is so valuable, because then not only are you showing up for yourself, you're connecting to yourself. And sabotage has so much to do with just being disconnected from yourself, disconnected from your higher self, and resorting to something else to get by.
I saw this meme on, I think it was Instagram, and it said many of us trade um short-term discomfort for long-term dysfunction. And I was like, yes, that is so true. Why do we do that? And
Yeah.
for me, and when you were talking about the whole food thing and like diet, I tore my ACL earlier this year and I was recovering from surgery. I was very sedentary. I'm a very active person, but for a very long time I had to be sedentary. So I couldn't
That's
fit
hard.
in my clothes, and then I was like, I'm gonna watch what I eat. But then Halloween came and I was like, I just can't.
Yeah, yeah,
And I was just like,
yeah.
I have all this candy in front of me, my kids don't eat this candy, and I just couldn't stop. And I'm like, oh, whatever, it's fine. It's fine. It'll be fine. And then afterwards I felt bad. And that was when I was like, I realized I was like, I just completely sabotaged because I had been doing really well for a good while. And then I was just like, it was just the temptation. Plus, it was just like, my period's coming. It was just like so many different things that it was just like, I give up. I'm just going to fall
Yes.
into this.
Yeah. And, one of the things about sabotage that often happens is you ask me what people can do or note to notice and just get curious about what you're saying to yourself,
Mm.
because the words that we say and the images that we give our mind either support that sabotage or help you move in a different direction. Your mind responds to the words and images you give it. Again, whether they're true or not, right or wrong, it really doesn't freaking matter. It's going to say, oh, you think this is killing you? We say these very dramatic things like,
Right.
I'm going to die if I have to do this again. These kids are killing me. My head feels like a truck ran over it. This traffic is just like the worst thing that ever happened. My gut feels like an explosion. We have these very visceral words that we use, and our body is responding. And if we don't, I think the best way for people to realize is if you think about, seeing someone on the street, maybe even just someone you're attracted to, or the first time maybe you think of someone that you were attracted to, you kind of blush, or you get a flutter in your
Mhm.
stomach. It's just a thought. Our thoughts literally create a physical reaction in our body. If I had you close your eyes and pretend you were biting into a lemon and did this whole thing about a lemon, your mouth would start to salivate, you would create enzymes. And we have this saying in hypnotherapy, so many of our beliefs, they're lemons. They're not even real. That you don't have a lemon.
Mm.
You're not biting a lemon. I'm just telling you to think you're biting a lemon. That belief isn't even true, but your body, your mind, and then your actions are responding to the thoughts you think, and your body is physically reacting to it. So what are you saying to yourself? Just that alone could literally change your life. And if you don't know how to change it, just start maybe journaling and writing down and saying, maybe I could start changing those words and changing. And is this the truth? Am I really dying right now? Is it really like a truck ran me over? Saying words like, this is a little blip in my life right now, or this is uncomfortable, or this isn't the best, but by the weekend I'll be able to sleep and catch up on my rest, or this is an unfortunate situation and
Mm.
I'm going to have to call some friends and talk it through. And we do have such incredible coping skills and perseverance when we think about it, but we get ourselves in quite a tizzy.
Yeah, I think that is very interesting that what you just said about how we just like it made me think about my daughter, like when she's like, oh, that's so disgusting, I'm gonna throw up, and then she actually starts gagging. How
Right.
do we stop that? Just
Right.
I mean, how do you train someone if that's like their it's like a physical thing? Like how do you interrupt that?
Like they're going, well, with kids, they're so responsive and easy. But yeah, even they mirror what we do. But you know even showing this thing that our beliefs, our thoughts, our beliefs turn into our thoughts, turn into our actions, turn into our events. But, even just saying, is that true? Is that, let's talk about that. Like, what's another way? How do you really feel? Tell me what it feels like. Where in your body? What does it feel like? Oh, it feels like, and they start to say it feels like this, or it feels like butterflies, or it feels like it's tight in my throat. Okay, well, that's, let's describe what it really is. Or it feels like my mouth starts to get, dry
Yeah.
or wet.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we do have a reaction when we don't want to eat something we like or whatever, but we're so influenced by social media and this, these very dramatic responses that we emulate those things. But we can train ourselves differently, and our mind responds and can be rewired. And that's what's so powerful about, this is just one of the many modalities that can help people, between energy healing and the hypnotherapy or subconscious work I do, is really going to the core of where change is made in our subconscious. And if we don't like a behavior, and you don't have to know how to fix it yourself, you can, whether it's hypnotherapy or some other kind of, like you said, internal family systems, EMDR, there's many other ways, that you can get to your subconscious that are very powerful ways to make deep change. And gone are the days that we have to go to therapy for 5 years every day, once a week or something. That's
Hmm.
great too, but there's other ways too. And
Yes.
that's so wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, I went to 20 years of traditional therapy, and
Mm-hmm.
I was still having issues, and I still had suicidal ideation. And after just a year and a half of, you know, internal family systems therapy, I don't even recognize,
Yeah.
how who I was before. I feel a lot different. And it's interesting what you were talking about how how powerful our brain and what our thoughts are. It reminded me of my son. There was a point, and he still does this now, but there was a point where every time before dinner he'd be like, "What are we eating for dinner?" And I would tell him, "We are eating this." "Oh, I hate that. I don't want that. It's disgusting. I don't want to eat that." And he would literally every then he would just try it, and before he would even, like, he would just put it in his mouth, "Oh, it's gross." So I told him for, like, because this was really frustrating. It was like I was, like,
Sure, I
losing
bet.
my mind for the
Yeah.
longest time, and I was like, "How about before dinner, you get really excited about what we're eating? Maybe just say, "Ooh, I'm so excited to try that." And we did this for like 2 weeks, and eventually he was able to he was enjoying the food. And then it fell off the wagon, and then now we're back to where we were. But I was like, "Remember that those 2 weeks where you were just like you loved everything I made?" Including this meal right here that I made you during those 2 weeks that you said you loved, but now you hate it. So,
Yes.
it was just
Yeah.
so interesting how
Well,
that works.
you're hitting on one of the rules of the mind that Marissa Peer created, which is, well, it's just one of the facts is we get more of what we feel. So, if we don't know why we're sabotaging ourselves, and we just want to, just the very core basics, it's what are we saying to ourselves and what are we feeling? Whatever you're feeling, you're going to get more of that, which is easier said, okay, now what? Now what? Okay, yeah, I feel terrible. What now what? But yeah. So one of the pivot exercises that I do with clients and I do with myself is close your eyes and think of a moment, and this was taught to me in the last 24 hours, where you felt approval, you felt in control, you felt calm, you felt safe, you felt happy, whatever the thing is that you want. Okay. And just think of a moment. You might have to go back a couple days, just a little moment. It might be petting your dog. It might be walking, and you see a leaf that was pretty. It doesn't even need to be a profound moment. It could be cooking stir fry or something. And you just feel that moment and let that moment move through your body like a gentle breeze. You can do this with kids. You can do it with anyone who's never done any kind of work. We've all have a moment, and allow our body to go back and feel it. Because remember, our cells have a carbon memory, and Joe Dispenza's work talks a lot about that. And that habit, breaking the habit of being ourselves, where we get so frustrated, why am I not healing fast enough? But this takes us back to a moment when we felt happy and calm, and remind our little happy cells, okay, this is what I felt. Ooh, I'm petting my dog. I feel so calm. I feel safe, because pets do that to us. We can feel pretty good pretty quick, our children. And then go back and think about that thing that was making you feel agitated or sad. And just that, bringing you back to the feeling of peace and calm or happiness. Now saying, okay, now I got to go talk to so-and-so about that thing, or now I got to go talk to my kid about dinner or whatever. You have a different energy about you, and you will have